Hi students, good morning. Today we are going to discuss about protein, very interesting and easy topic. Okay, let us see what is protein. Okay, what are the properties, different properties of protein? Protein are the most abundant biomolecule, okay, of the living system. Okay, it is the most abundant biomolecule. Okay. Now, chief source of protein are milk, cheese, pulses, peanut, fish meat, etc. All proteins are polymers of alpha amino acid. This is important. All proteins are polymer of alpha amino acid. So protein are the most abundant biomolecule of the living system. Okay. Now, let us see what is this amino acid, because we have already understand all proteins are polymers of alpha amino acid. Let us see what is that alpha amino acid. So first to see what is amino acid. Amino acid means it consists of both amino group and carboxylic group. Okay. So actually, let us see, this is C, one alkyl group will be there. And this may be anything like starting with the H, or it may be CH3, or it may be CH2CH3. Any alkyl residue will come here, including hydrogen. Okay. And one hydrogen over here, and one COOH group, acid group here, one NH2 group here. So this is called what? This is called amino acid. If you, this is the general formula of amino acid. If you substitute this by hydrogen, you will get glycine. Okay. And if you substitute with the CH3, another amino acid, like that. Depending upon the R group, different R group, we will be getting different amino acids. Okay. Now, next is amino acids, how we will represent. They are represented either using a 3-letter, okay, or 3-letter symbol, or it is representing using a 1-letter code. Okay, so already I said you, if the R group is hydrogen, then it is glycine. So it is represented 3-letter form. How we will represent G? Well, Ly, or 1-letter if you are using, it is G. Okay. So alanine means what? This H and COOH and NH2 remains the same, but the R group is CH3. If the R group is CH3, then it is called alanine, and it is represented using ALA and A. Now, valine. What is valine? CH3 twice CH. If the R group is CH3 twice CH, then it is called a valine, and it is represented using B. In this way, different representations are there. Either we will represent it using a 3-letter, or we will represent using 1-letter. Okay, so this the long list are there. If you substitute R group with the different groups, alkyl residue, we will get different proteins. Okay, now how we can classify proteins? Proteins we can classify into essential and amino acid we can classify into essential amino acid and non-essential amino acid. What is the difference? The amino acid which can be synthesized in the body are called non-essential, because it is in the body, it is already synthesized. So from food we don't want that particular amino acid, so that is non-essential for us because body is preparing that. So that amino acid is known as non-essential amino acid. On the other hand, if our body is not capable of preparing certain amino acid, they are called what? Essential amino acid. So through food we need that amino acid, because body doesn't have the capacity to synthesize it. Understand? So that is essential, and essential means body cannot prepare that amino acid. Non-essential means body can prepare that amino acid. Okay. Now you can see here some example of essential and non-essential. Essential amino acid examples are lysine. Okay, lysine is an example. Non-essential glycine. Okay, cysteine. These are examples. For any 1 or 2 example we have to learn. Now, what are the properties of amino acid? Amino acids are colorless. They are crystalline solids. They are water soluble, because amino group is water soluble, acid group is also water soluble, and they have high melting solid and behave like salt rather than simple amines or carboxylic acid. So they will be behaving like a salt. Not amines are like basic carboxylic acid are acidic, but this is behaving like a salt. Okay, so they are colorless crystalline solid. These are water soluble high melting solids. Okay, and they behave like salt. The behavior is due to the presence of both acidic and basic amino acids. Okay, if the number of acidic group is more, so it will be more acidic. If the amino group is more, it will be more basic. Okay. Now, what is sweeter ion? Sweeter ion means, what is sweeter ion? Sweeter ion means, what will happen? In aqueous solution, the carboxyl group can lose a proton and amino group, where in aqueous solution. We can see that case here. So this is the case. Okay, here in water solution, what will happen? The NH2 group consists of one hydrogen. That and OH group also consists of one oxygen, hydrogen, right? So in acid, what is an acid? Acid is a substance which will donate H plus ion, right? So this acid in aqueous solution, this acid will donate this H plus ion to this basic residue, that is NH2. So H plus will be moving to this NH2 so that it become NH3 plus and it becomes COO minus. So two different charges are existing here. So this is having a polarity. Okay, so this is called a sweeter ion. Okay, did you understand what is sweeter ion? So sweeter ion means in aqueous solution, the carboxyl group lose a proton, H plus ion, and amino group can accept a proton, giving rise a dipolar, means two different charge will be there. That is called a sweeter ion. This is neutral but contain both positive and negative charge. The sweeter ionic form, amino acid show amphoteric behavior, means amino acid will be showing both acidic and basic character in sweeter ionic form. Okay, now optical activity. Actually, all the amino acid except glycine is what optically active. Okay, they are optically active. Because what is the reason? If they're asking what is the reason why they are optically active, because they have unsymmetrical carbon. Okay, unsymmetric or asymmetric carbon is there. Okay, since the alpha carbon atom is asymmetric, this exists in, and what are the configuration? Both D and L configuration they have. Most naturally occurring amino acid have L configuration. So naturally occurring amino acid is having L configuration. So L configuration means, what is the difference between L and D configuration? In L configuration, how we will represent the amino acids? In amino acid will be represented like NH2 group will be on the L amino acid are represented by writing NH2 group on the left side. So if NH2, CrCOOH, NH2, if NH2 is on the left side, then it is called a L amino acid. Okay, if it is on the NH2 group is on the right side, then it is called R amino acid. So mostly all amino acids are, mostly all naturally occurring amino acids are what? In the L form. Okay, and D and L form are existing, but most naturally occurring amino acids are in L form. Okay, means NH2 will be on the left side. And all are optically active because it consists of a asymmetric carbon. Now, why glycine is not optically active? So let us look at glycine. Look at glycine. Glycine is actually NH2 group is there, COH group is there, 2H group are there. R is substituted by H. So this carbon atom is not surrounded by different groups. So this is not an asymmetric carbon. Since it is not an asymmetric carbon, it is not an chiral center, and it will not act as it will not be optically active. Understand? Now let us see the structure of protein. Okay. So the protein are polymers of alpha amino acid. So alpha amino acid when joined together, alpha amino acid already we have seen amino acid. When they join together, we are going to get a protein. So let us see how they are joining. So the two amino acids are here, right? So when these two amino acid combine, you know, OH present in acid and H present in NH2 group, they will combine and remove water. Elimination reaction it is, or it is called condensation reaction. By the removal of water, what will happen? C double bond and NH will form a bond. So this bond thus formed is called a peptide bond. Okay. So when two amino acid combine, OH of acid and H of NH2 group will remove as water, and C double bond NH bond will be forming, and that bond is called a peptide bond. Since this bond is formed by two amino acid, it is called a dipeptide. Okay. It is called a dipeptide. Now, so this is dipeptide, this is the peptide bond. So if there is only two amino acid in the peptide bond, then it is called a dipeptide. Tripeptide means it consists of three amino acid residue. When they join together, we will get tripeptide. Okay. And next is what are the different type of peptides? We already discussed dipeptide, tripeptide, polypeptide. Polypeptide means it consists of a large, many amino acid residue inside that. If 5,000 and more, if a biological macromolecule of molecular weight 5,000 of or more we are getting, that is called that polypeptide chain is called a protein. Okay. Now, what are the different types of protein? There are fibrous protein and globular protein. Now, let us see the difference. What is fibrous and what is so from the figure itself, we can understand fibrous means fiber like it is. Okay, they are joined together here, but it is fiber like. It is coiled a lot. Okay, so what is fibrous protein? When the polypeptide chain run parallel, so in fibrous we can see they are running parallel. Okay, run parallel and are held together by hydrogen and a disulfide bond. So two type of bond are existing between them, disulfide for bond or hydrogen bond. So this is the force that holding these parallel structures together. Such proteins are called what? Fibrous protein. Okay, this is insoluble in water. Example for that, we can think about our body itself. Okay. So keratin, some common example are keratin present in hair. Hair, we can see that it is insoluble in water. So keratin is an example. Wool, silk, everywhere keratin is present. Myosin, it is present in muscles. Okay, that is fibrous protein. And what is globular? The structure result when the chain of polypeptide coiled around to get spherical shape. The other one was a fibrous structure, that is a parallel structure, right? But here it is all the polypeptide chain coiled together and we are getting a spherical shape. Then it is called a globular protein. These are usually soluble, but the other one was insoluble in water. Insulin, albumin are the common example of globular proteins. So now fibrous and a globular protein, we can see the difference. So globular protein means what? Polypeptide chain intertwine with each other to form, that is coiled together to form a spherical shape, then it is globular. Fibrous means polypeptide chain like parallel to each other and they are held together by hydrogen and disulfide bond, and these are water soluble, and fibrous protein are not water soluble. Now let us see the primary structure of protein. What is the primary structure of protein? Primary structure means it's like this. So we know that different peptide bond will be forming between two different amino acid. So primary structure will give you the sequence of amino acid in which it is joined to form a polypeptide. Okay, first glycine, then then THR, then GLY, like that. Different amino groups are joined. Then we are getting this sequence. If one glycine is here and the glutamine that is here, if glycine and this GLU, these two amino acids are exchanged between, you are going to get another type of protein. So the sequence is very important. So this will give the sequence of the arrangement of different amino acid in the protein chain. Okay. So what is the secondary structure of protein? The secondary structure of protein, that refers to the shape in which the long polypeptide chain exists. There are two different types in which they are existing. The one is called alpha helix structure and the other one is called a beta pleated sheet structure. So let us see what is the difference between. Alpha helix means it is helical type, okay, coiled together and forming an alpha helix structure, and beta sheet structure means it is like sheet like it is, okay. So alpha helix is one of the most common way in which a peptide chain form all possible hydrogen bond by twisting into a right-handed screw. It is just like twisting into a right-handed screw, and you can see in between the coil there are hydrogen bond formation. So this type is called a alpha helix. If you coil also, there will be, in order to hold them together, there will be hydrogen bond formation between NH and CO group, okay. So what is beta pleated? Beta pleated sheet structure, all peptide chain are structured out to nearly maximum extension and then laid side by side. That is very important. The peptide chains are laid side by side and there will be the hydrogen bond between these peptide sheets, okay. See like this, okay, there will be, they are arranging side by side and there will be a peptide bond, a hydrogen bond between them, okay. Now, what is tertiary structure of protein? Tertiary structure of protein represent the overall folding of the polypeptide chain. Okay. Again, all further folding of a secondary structure. It gives rise to two major molecular shapes. So, if this secondary structure again fold, you are going to get, we already discussed, fibrous and a globular. Different way of coiling we understood. Parallel coiling, then it is fibrous. If it is spherical coiling, then it is globular. So what are the main forces in secondary and tertiary structure of protein? One, we know hydrogen bond and disulfide bond, we are already understand. Then there will be Van der Waals force of attraction also present. Okay. So this is the structure of tertiary coiling. Okay, globular like. Now, what is quaternary structure? If other entities are also coiled here, means some of the protein are composed of two or more polypeptide chain referred to as subunit. Some polypeptide subunits are also present in this globular structure or the helix, the other one fibrous structure, that will leads to the quaternary structure. Okay. So look here, different entities are there present there, different polypeptide chain. So that will be leading to the formation of quaternary. So this is primary, the sequence. Secondary, the coiling. Further coiling will result in tertiary structure. And if other protein chains are also inculcated here, then it will be resulting in a quaternary structure. What is denaturation of protein? So let us see what is denaturation of protein. Denaturation of protein means the protein will destroy. Okay, how the protein is going to destroy? Okay, let us see. When a protein in its native form is subjected to physical change like change in temperature or chemical change like change in pH, hydrogen bonds are disturbed. So this will result in unfolding of the protein, okay, due to the globules unfold and helix uncoiled. And the protein loses its biological activity, and that is called a denaturate. So when you apply any physical change like a change in temperature or chemical change like pH, okay, what will happen? Hydrogen bond disturbed, and so uncoiling will take place. That will result in denaturation of the protein. Okay. The coagulation of egg white is an example. Another example is curding of milk. These two are example for denaturation of protein. Okay. That's all for today. Now let us discuss nucleic acid in the next class. Thank you.